Just as an aside. So you specialize in what's called business divorces. Walk me through like one of those, like a real world without disclosing the parties involved as much as you can, so that I kind of get a sense of what does that mean.
Sure. So, um, unfortunately, a lot of times people will start a venture together, or companies will sort of join together with a great idea and the best of intentions. But as with everything in life, in business, things don't always go as planned. People could have agendas that start to diverge. One person could be going through personal trouble and not able to sort of dedicate their time and focus the way they intended when they first sort of got into the business. Unfortunately, you see it. I mean, there can be instances of dishonesty. This one is maybe treating themselves to the company credit card for non-business expense type stuff. And so oftentimes when the business owners aren't able to kind of resolve it themselves, they lawyer up, and the attorneys get involved. And in an ideal world, there is a divorce, a parting of ways, and everybody is just like in a real divorce. Everybody is kind of paid fairly for their contributions to the family unit or the business unit. It does not always work out that way, but that it's the concept is the same. Is that this marriage, this business marriage, is irretrievably broken. How do we untangle it in a way that preserves the value of the business and pays everyone fairly for what they've contributed towards it?
How do you handle that when you have somebody who's angry, or one party or the other party is angry and pointing fingers, and becomes, because I could just see this happening in my own mind. I was running through, if someone became in essence self-destructive to the business, but the other person really wanted the business to continue and they were dedicated to it, but one side was didn't really care. They maybe even wanted the business to fail because they were so angry about something. How do you work with that kind of situation? Is that I'm sure that that's happened.
It does, and that can be really destructive. I sometimes joke that if everybody, behaved rationally and calmly, I'd be out of work. And so, there's a couple of things. One is, over time, I've often found that people cool off. Litigation is a long and expensive and cumbersome slog. And so, I won't say every time, but a lot of times you'll have, business people who are really hot with one another over a flashpoint, a moment in time. And then 6 months later, after going through the litigation gauntlet, they start to cool off and think more clear-headed about whether this is really worth all of the time, money, and attention they're feeding it. And so the other thing that sometimes often is very helpful is you enlist help. Cases sometimes will go through the process of what's known as mediation, which is where you hire a third party professional, a neutral, who comes in and acts as almost a referee. That's maybe not the right analogy, because they don't the mediator does not have the authority to force parties to settle cases if they don't want to, but a mediator can and often will, talk the parties off the ledge, get them to see sort of the business case, if you will, for resolution, and are able to sort of guide the parties to a middle ground. And so it doesn't work all of the time, but I mean the statistics are pretty compelling evidence that it's an effective way to get cases resolved.